Hi, this is Jen Rubin, and this is Jen Rubin's Green Room. The end of another busy week, and it was a very good week for President Biden on several counts. First of all, the Republicans have utterly tied themselves up in knots on the abortion issue. This is the dog that caught the bus. They wanted this. They wanted to send it to the states. They wanted to let the states do whatever they wanted about abortion. And lo and behold, when it turns out that the states, thanks to extreme radical legislators and extreme radical judges, want to ban abortion altogether, creating monstrous regimes in which women cannot get an abortion even for the health of the mother, or can't get an abortion at all, they freak out. Oh, this isn't what we meant. Oh, yes, it is. This is exactly what they meant. This is the natural consequence of their position that women get no rights and the fetus gets all the rights. It's just like the IVF issue. They said, oh, we didn't mean to ban that. Well, yes, they did. As soon as you attach personhood to a fertilized egg, you get a ban on IVF. That's what they have been talking about. And they can squirm, and they can say they didn't mean it, and they can say they're not really in favor of a national ban. Who believes that? But this is what they want, and it's monstrous, and voters hate it. And they know voters hate it. That's why Donald Trump has been running around in circles all week, first praising the Arizona court, then saying they went too far. That's why Republicans in Arizona and Florida are freaking out, because this issue is going to be front and center in both states. Both states recently had their Supreme Courts reimpose a ban that really prevents virtually all abortions. In Florida, they're going back to a 6-week ban before the point at which most women even know they're pregnant. In Arizona, the law from the 19th century, which is how they view women, will not will not allow an exception in cases of the health of the mother, only death of the mother. So there we have it. And we have the perfect contrast. There is one side of the equation who wants to allow women and doctors to make their own life decisions, who does not insist on applying a specific sort of religious viewpoint on the rest of us. You don't want an abortion? You don't have to have an abortion. You believe life begins at conception? Great for you. Don't have an abortion. But the other side thinks this is a great Christian country, and we're going to be governed by God's law. And God's law says that life begins at conception, and therefore that's the way it's going to be. We don't care about precedent. We don't care about the rights of women. We don't care about changing the rules after 50 years. That's the way it's going to be. There could not be a better contrast between a party that stands for democracy and freedom and one that doesn't. And I think you saw the Biden campaign really come alive this week. They were coming out fighting. They put out a couple very strong ads, one in which the president is speaking just directly to camera and basically says, Donald Trump did this, and we're going to reverse it. And there's another that is a heart-rending portrayal of one of the women who brought suit in Texas who nearly died because an abortion was not available to her until she got really, really sick and was close to death. So I think the administration and the campaign both have recognized that this is one of those tipping points in the campaign when voters realize exactly what each side stands for. Meanwhile, the House Republicans are still dithering over aid to Ukraine. Good old Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, the Bible tells me what to do, is down in Mar-a-Lago. And remember, Trump was the one who put the kibosh on a border bill that also included aid to Ukraine. So we, again, have the perfect contrast. We have a House and Senate group of Democrats, and we even have Republicans in the Senate. We're saying we must get aid to Ukraine. People are dying because of this delay. The Ukrainians are losing territory. Russia is gaining the upper hand. And there you have Mike Johnson running down to Mar-a-Lago looking for direction. Well, that's quite a sight, isn't it? And meanwhile, although they seem to have worked it out, Donald Trump also put the kibosh on a critical national security measure. This is the program that allows the intelligence service to pick up transmissions, communications, not of Americans, but of foreigners who may be planning a terrorist attack. Donald Trump is confused, or he wants us to be confused, and said, this is what was used to spy on me. Well, nothing was used to spy on him, and this law in particular has nothing to do with domestic surveillance, which would still require a warrant and a court order. So because he doesn't understand the law and because he's paranoid, he temporarily stalled passage of a critical part of our national security. That's right. He would rather that we have one less defense against foreign terrorists so that he can have some peace of mind thinking that this is going to protect him from some nefarious plot. Remember, he was the one who thought that Barack Obama was spying on him. That's how crazy the Republican Party has gotten. This is the direction they take from someone who's wrong, from someone who's paranoid, from someone who just wants to make things more difficult and more chaotic, more destructive, less democratic, less functional. And that's what the Republican Party is all about. Well, Monday. Do you have your Monday trial glasses ready? I know you had those eclipse glasses. Now you have to have your eyes wide open as you get coverage of the New York criminal trial of Donald J. Trump. It's about time, isn't it? I don't know how many motions he's filed this week. I think it was at least 3, seeking to delay the inevitable, which is he will go into court on Monday morning and he will begin selecting a jury. It's fascinating, actually. The judge has a little spiel prepared in which he's going to tell the jurors what the case is about. And you know what he says? He says in that little spiel, this is a case in which Donald Trump is accused of falsifying records to commit a crime in advance of the 2016 election in order to conceal these events from the voters. In other words, this is a trial in which the defrauding of the American people, in which trial interference is front and center. It's the initiating force before the entire Trump presidency. If not for this incident, he might never have gotten to be president. He might not have wreaked havoc on the country, and we would not have had January 6th. So this is not Jennifer Rubin saying this is about election interference. This is the judge's instruction to the jury. So all those commentators who thought this was much ado about nothing, a little state case, didn't really have any importance, they're wrong. Not only are these important felony charges that could result in incarceration, but this goes to the heart of our democracy. It's about whether he could commit crimes in order to get himself elected. Now, it's amazing that suddenly the press has rediscovered it. And you know what they do? They say, well, Alvin Bragg is now talking about this case as if it were an election interference case. Wrong. He said it from the get-go, and it's in the statement of facts of the original indictment. It's something that the press has begun to figure out what the case is really about. Okay, better late than never. As long as they get that it's important, as long as they understand this is a crucial moment of accountability for someone who tried to besmirch our democracy, well, welcome to the party. At least they'll be front and center. Now, what else is going on in the world? Once more, Israel remains a mess. And although, interestingly enough, Bibi Netanyahu has withdrawn most troops from Gaza, he's still talking about an invasion of Rafah. Not clear whether he really means it. And there are still many, many more ways and instances in which aid has to get through. What he's doing now is better than he was before the president of the United States yelled at him, but it is utterly insufficient. And the president's been very clear about that. Meanwhile, the negotiations, if you will, with Hamas drag on, and they finally let on that, well, we may not have 40 hostages that are still alive. Yes, that's right. These poor families who have been praying, hoping, cajoling their government to make a hostage deal, they really don't know whether their loved ones are dead or alive. And many of them, unfortunately, are dead. And so the war drags on. There are many fewer casualties than there were in the early days of the war. Israel is losing fewer soldiers. There are fewer civilians being harmed. But nevertheless, there is a humanitarian nightmare there. There is a famine that is about to and has already taken root. And the war simply has to come to an end. Now, Israel is right in one regard. They cannot make a truce unless the Hamas terrorists agree. Hamas wants an end to the war. Well, that's fine. If they want an end to the war, then they have to return all the hostages. And so this dance goes on. And meanwhile, Netanyahu remains in power, even though the vast majority of Israelis want him gone. He hangs on because in the Israeli system, unless the government falls, unless coalition partners pull out, he will remain. And oh, by the way, he's undergoing his own trial for corruption. You'll notice something that's kind of similar between Bibi and Donald Trump. Yeah, corruption. It's usually at the heart of right-wing autocrats because they think of themselves as entitled, as the embodiment of the state, as above mere laws and rules that apply to other people. So there is quite a similarity there. But I think you should take heart that as the election begins to progress, we're seeing a pattern. The Biden team has money, has a clear-eyed position on issues, has a strong organization, and has in its back pocket positions, values that they share with the American people. Trump has none of that. And again, I don't want to take too much time on polls, but if you like polls, they are moving in Biden's direction. So take some solace there. But what this really tells me is the more people tune in and focus on this choice, a larger contrast we have never had in American politics, the better off we'll be. Now, no labels is no more. That's a good thing. RFK Jr. is still running. And I think the jury is out on whether he is going to draw more from Donald Trump or more from President Biden. But the only thing you can do is vote, get others to vote, make sure people are registered, volunteer your time, work hard for candidates up and down the ballot. You found out that state lawmakers count for a lot, and it's those offices, everything down to mayor and school board and all the way up to the presidency, that are going to determine what kind of America we live in. So keep the faith, keep working hard, and if you enjoyed this program, please tell your friends. They can click right there and follow us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or wherever they get their podcasts. Bye-bye.